Junwoo Park had exactly 3 seconds before he ruined a $5 million product launch, and it was all because of a smile. The Samsung Innovation Center in Gangnam was packed with Seoul's tech elite, investors in custom suits, and 50 Instagram models his PR team had hired to create buzz around his company's new AI software. The models were everywhere, draped across the minimalist furniture like living sculptures, their perfect faces lit by the glow of holographic displays, each one more stunning than the last. Junwoo had walked past every single one without a second glance, because he'd spent the last 32 years learning that beautiful faces usually wanted something from him, and he was tired of trying to figure out what. Then she laughed. Not a polite giggle or a calculated trill designed to get his attention, but a genuine, full-bodied laugh that cut through the electronic music and pretentious small talk like a bell. Junwoo's head turned automatically toward the sound, and that's when he saw her. She was standing near the beverage station, talking to one of his junior developers, her head thrown back in delight at something the nervous kid had said. Her skin was a rich, warm brown that seemed to glow under the venue's cool LED lighting. Her natural curls pulled up in an elegant twist that showed off the graceful curve of her neck. She wore a sleek black blazer and fitted pants that hugged curves that would make any man forget his own name, but it wasn't her body that made Junwoo freeze mid-step. It was the way she moved, confident and comfortable in her own skin, like she belonged exactly where she was and didn't need anyone's permission to take up space. She turned slightly, still laughing, and her smile hit him like a physical force. Junwoo forgot he was holding a glass of champagne, forgot he was supposed to be mingling with investors, forgot his own name for approximately 5 seconds. His feet moved toward her automatically, pulled by some invisible string, and he made it exactly 4 steps before he walked straight into a display table. Before we see what happens next, if you've ever embarrassed yourself in front of your crush, drop a laughing emoji in the comments and tell me your story. And if you want more romance disasters that turn into love stories, hit that like button, subscribe, and smash that notification bell so you never miss a story. Trust me, you're not ready for how this crash changes everything. The crash was spectacular. The prototype tablet he'd been about to unveil shattered on the marble floor. Champagne went everywhere, most of it down the front of his Tom Ford suit. 200 people turned to stare at Korea's most eligible bachelor standing in a puddle of expensive alcohol and broken dreams, looking like he'd forgotten how to use his legs. And she laughed again. Not at him, he realized. With him, like they were sharing a private joke. Her eyes met his across the room, warm and sparkling with genuine amusement, and Junwoo felt something in his chest crack open. "Well," she called out, her voice carrying that distinct American accent. "That's one way to make an entrance." The room erupted in nervous laughter. Junwoo's assistant rushed over with napkins. The PR team scrambled to control the damage. And Junwoo just stood there, soaking wet, staring at the woman who'd just witnessed his most embarrassing moment, and smiled. "I meant to do that," he said in English, his own accent thick but clear. "Very dramatic. Good for publicity." "Uh-huh," she said, walking over with a stack of cocktail napkins. "And I'm sure you meant to wear champagne as cologne too. Bold choice." She handed him the napkins, and when their fingers touched, Junwoo felt electricity shoot up his arm. Up close, she was even more devastating. Full lips curved in a smirk, warm brown eyes that saw right through his careful facade, and a presence that made every model in the room fade into background noise. "Dahlia McKilson," she said, extending her hand. "I'm with Apex Events. We coordinated this disaster. I mean, this beautiful launch party." Junwoo shook her hand and forgot to let go. "Junwoo Park! I'm the one who just destroyed my own product launch." "I noticed," Dahlia said, but she was still smiling. "Don't worry, I've seen worse. Last month, a CEO set off the sprinkler system during a presentation. At least you only ruined one suit." "This suit cost 8 million won," Junwoo said. "And it was worth every penny before you turned it into a champagne sponge," Dahlia replied, without missing a beat. "Want me to get you a towel, or are you committed to this look?" Junwoo laughed. really laughed, for the first time in months. His assistant appeared at his elbow with a change of clothes, shooting Dahlia a suspicious look, like she might be a corporate spy. The PR team was waving frantically, trying to get him to address the crowd and salvage the presentation. But Junwoo couldn't move, couldn't look away from this woman who'd just roasted him while somehow making him feel like the most interesting person in the room. "I should probably go change," he said reluctantly. "Probably," Dahlia agreed. "Your investors look like they're having heart attacks. Will you be here when I get back?" "I work here, so yes." "Good," Junwoo said, and meant it with an intensity that surprised him. "Don't leave." Dahlia raised an eyebrow. "Is that an order?" "A request," Junwoo said quickly. "Please, I'd like to talk to you more. After I'm less wet." "I'll think about it," Dahlia said, but her eyes were dancing with amusement. Junwoo changed his suit in record time, delivered a flawless presentation about his company's new AI technology, charmed the investors, and posed for exactly 3 photos with the models his PR team insisted were essential for social media. But his eyes kept finding Dahlia across the room, watching her work with quiet efficiency, handling crisis after crisis with the kind of calm competence that made everything look easy. She caught him staring at least 5 times and smirked every single time. When the event finally wound down 3 hours later, Junwoo found her coordinating the cleanup crew, tablet in hand, checking items off a list with quick precision. "Hi," he said, suddenly feeling like a teenager instead of a billionaire CEO. "You're back," Dahlia said without looking up. "And dry. Congratulations." "I wanted to apologize," Junwoo said, "for the mess, for making your job harder. Please." Dahlia waved him off. "That wasn't even in the top 10 disasters I've handled this month. Last week a groom punched the best man during the reception. Now that was a mess." "Still," Junwoo insisted, "let me make it up to you. Dinner?" Dahlia finally looked up from her tablet, studying him with an expression he couldn't read. Is this the part where the rich CEO hits on the event coordinator because he thinks she'll be impressed by his money? The bluntness startled him. Most people treated Junwoo with careful deference, afraid to say anything that might offend the man who could buy and sell companies before breakfast. But Dahlia looked at him like he was just a guy, not a bank account with legs. "No," Junwoo said honestly. "This is the part where a man who just made a complete fool of himself wants to spend more time with a woman who made him laugh when he was covered in champagne. The money has nothing to do with it." "Smooth," Dahlia said. "Do you practice these lines?" "I don't have lines," Junwoo said, frustrated. "I don't do this. I don't chase women. I don't crash into tables. I definitely don't beg strangers to have dinner with me. But you smiled, and I forgot how to be normal." Dahlia's expression softened slightly. "I'm only in Seoul for 10 more months," she said. "Cultural exchange program. Then I go back to Indianapolis." 10 months is a long time," Junwoo said. "It's also a very short time," Dahlia countered. "Then let's not waste it," Junwoo said. "One dinner. If you hate it, I'll never bother you again. If you like it, maybe we can have another one." Dahlia studied him for a long moment, and Junwoo held his breath. He'd negotiated billion-dollar deals with tech giants, faced down hostile board members, built a company from nothing into an AI powerhouse. But waiting for this woman's answer felt like the most important moment of his life. "Fine," Dahlia said finally. "One dinner. But I picked the place, and it better not be some fancy restaurant where they serve foam instead of food. I want real Korean food, the kind locals eat, not the tourist stuff." "Deal," Junwoo said, relief flooding through him. "Tomorrow night?" "I have to check my schedule," Dahlia said. "Give me your number." Junwoo recited it immediately, watching as she saved it in her phone. When she looked up, she was smiling again. That same genuine smile that had started this whole thing. "You know there were like 50 models here tonight, right?" Dahlia said. "Instagram famous, gorgeous, probably more your type." "I didn't see any of them," Junwoo said truthfully. "Just you." "That's because I'm hard to miss," Dahlia said with a grin. "I'm 6 feet tall and black in the middle of Gangnam. I kind of stand out. That's not why I noticed you, Junwoo said quietly. I noticed you because you were real. Everyone else was performing. You were just being. Dahlia's smile turned soft, almost vulnerable. Okay, she said. That was smooth. I'll give you that. She texted him the next morning with an address in Hongdae and a simple message. 7 p.m. Don't be late. And dress like a normal person, not a CEO. Junwoo showed up at 6:45 p.m. in jeans and a plain black t-shirt, feeling more nervous than he had before his first board meeting. The restaurant was tiny, barely 10 tables, tucked between a vintage clothing store and a PC bang. The kind of place his usual crowd would never notice, which made it perfect. Dahlia was already there, sitting at a corner table in ripped jeans and an off-shoulder top that made his brain short-circuit. Her curls were down tonight, framing her face in a gorgeous halo. And when she smiled at him, Junwoo forgot every word of English he'd ever learned. You're early, she said. Nervous? Terrified, Junwoo admitted, sliding into the seat across from her. I haven't been on a date in 3 years. This is a date? Dahlia asked, eyebrow raised. I thought this was you apologizing for property damage. It can be both, Junwoo said. They ordered too much food, shared banchan and soju that burned going down. Dahlia told him about growing up in Indianapolis, about her big, loud family, and her dreams of seeing the world. About how she'd saved for 2 years to afford this exchange program. How she was supposed to be building connections for her event planning business, not getting distracted by clumsy CEOs who couldn't walk straight. Junwoo told her about the pressure of inheriting his father's company at 25, about spending his 20s building an empire while his friends fell in love and started families, about how his mother had a list of acceptable women for him to marry, daughters of other wealthy families who could provide the right connections, and how he'd been avoiding that conversation for 7 years. So you're telling me you're a 32-year-old virgin? Dahlia teased. I didn't say that, Junwoo protested, face flushing. I said I haven't dated in 3 years. There's a difference. Uh-huh, Dahlia said, clearly enjoying his embarrassment. So, what's the longest relationship you've ever had? 6 months, Junwoo admitted. She wanted to get married. I wanted to focus on the company. We disagreed. Translation. You're a workaholic who can't commit, Dahlia said. Translation. I hadn't met the right person yet, Junwoo corrected. And you think I'm the right person? Dahlia asked. We just met yesterday. I could be a serial killer. Are you a serial killer? Junwoo asked. Not currently, Dahlia said. But the night is young. They talked until the restaurant closed, then walked along the Han River as Seoul's lights reflected off the water. Dahlia told him about her ex-boyfriend who'd cheated on her with her college roommate, about how she'd decided to spend a year abroad instead of wallowing. Junwoo told her about his older brother who died in a car accident, about how he sometimes still reached for his phone to call him before remembering. I'm sorry, Dahlia said softly, her hand finding his. It was 10 years ago, Junwoo said. But thank you. They walked in comfortable silence for a while, hands linked, and Junwoo marveled at how easy this felt, how he could be himself around her, awkward and honest, instead of the polished CEO everyone expected. So, Dahlia said eventually, what happens now? Now I ask if I can see you again, Junwoo said. And you say yes because you had fun tonight, and you think I'm charming. I think you're a disaster, Dahlia corrected. But a cute disaster. I'll take it, Junwoo said. They dated for 3 months, and it was the best 3 months of Junwoo's life. Dahlia introduced him to Seoul's underground music scene, dragged him to Noraebang rooms where he discovered she had a terrible voice, but sang anyway with total confidence. Taught him to stop taking everything so seriously, to laugh at himself, to live instead of just existing. Junwoo showed her Seoul through local eyes, took her to his grandmother's favorite temple in the mountains, to street food markets in Myeongdong where they ate tteokbokki until their mouths burned, taught her Korean phrases that made her laugh, bought her books about Korean history because she wanted to understand his culture, fell completely and irreversibly in love. His assistant noticed. His CFO noticed. The tech blogs noticed. When paparazzi caught them leaving a movie theater together, Dahlia's head on his shoulder, both of them laughing about something. The headlines were immediate and brutal. Tech CEO's surprising choice. Junwoo Park's foreign girlfriend. Breaking tradition. Junwoo ignored them all, until his mother showed up at his office with a portfolio of acceptable marriage candidates and an ultimatum. "This has gone on long enough," Park So-yeon said, dropping the portfolio on his desk with a thud. "You've had your fun? Now it's time to be serious." "I am serious," Junwoo said, not looking up from his work. "Dahlia is not a phase." "She's American," his mother said, as if that explained everything. "She's not from our world. She doesn't understand our culture, our expectations. Your father built this company for our family's legacy, and you want to throw it away for someone you've known for 3 months?" "I'm not throwing anything away," Junwoo said, finally meeting his mother's eyes. "I'm running the company better than father ever did. Profits are up 40%. We just secured the Samsung contract. My personal life doesn't affect my work." "Your personal life affects everything," his mother snapped. "The board is already talking. They don't trust a CEO who can't make stable, appropriate choices. And this girl, this event coordinator from America, she's not appropriate." "Her name is Dahlia," Junwoo said coldly. "And she's more real than any woman in that portfolio." "Real doesn't matter," his mother said. "Connections matter. Family matters. Legacy matters. You will end this relationship, or I will make it very difficult for you to continue as CEO." "You can't do that," Junwoo said. "I own 30% of the company," his mother reminded him. "Your uncle owns another 20. Your father's old business partners control 15. I can absolutely make your life difficult. One phone call and the board will start asking questions about your leadership, about whether you're committed to this company's future." "That's blackmail," Junwoo said. "That's family," his mother corrected. "We make sacrifices for each other. Your father sacrificed his happiness for this company. I sacrificed mine. Now it's your turn." She left the portfolio on his desk and walked out, leaving Junwoo staring at photos of women he'd never love, feeling the weight of expectations crushing down on him. He told Dahlia everything that night, over dinner, at her tiny apartment in Itaewon. How his mother had threatened his position, how the board was already circling, how he might have to choose between her and everything he'd built. "So choose the company," Dahlia said quietly. "What?" Junwoo stared at her. "Choose the company," Dahlia repeated. "I'm not going to be the reason you lose everything you've worked for. I'm not going to be the wedge between you and your family." "You're not a wedge," Junwoo said desperately. "You're everything. Dahlia, I love you." The words hung in the air between them. Junwoo hadn't planned to say them, hadn't rehearsed them, but they were true, undeniably true, and he needed her to know. Dahlia's eyes filled with tears. "I love you too," she whispered. "But Junwoo, I've seen this movie before. American girl, traditional family, everyone's saying it won't work. And it never does. Someone always gets hurt." "We don't have to be that story," Junwoo said. "But we probably will be," Dahlia said. "Your mother is right. I don't come from your world. I don't know how to navigate these politics, these expectations. And I don't want to learn. I don't want to change myself to fit into some box your family approves of." "I'm not asking you to change," Junwoo said. "You're not," Dahlia agreed. "But they will. And eventually, you'll start to resent me for making your life harder. For being the reason you can't have the career you want, the family approval you need." "That's not true," Junwoo said. "Maybe not today," Dahlia said. "But in a year? 5 years? When we have kids and your mother won't acknowledge them because they're not pure Korean? When the board forces you out and you wonder if choosing me was worth it?" "It would be worth it," Junwoo said fiercely. "You are worth everything." Dahlia stood up. walked to the window overlooking Seoul's glittering lights. "My exchange program ends in 7 months," she said. "Maybe we should just let this be what it was. A beautiful 3 months. A memory." "No," Junwoo said, standing too. "I'm not accepting that." "You have to," Dahlia said, turning to face him with tears streaming down her face. "Because I am. I'm going back to Indianapolis early. I've already talked to my program coordinator. I'm leaving in 2 weeks." The words hit Junwoo like bullets. "You can't." "I can," Dahlia said. "And I am. Because if I stay, I'll keep falling deeper in love with you. And it'll only hurt more when we end anyway. Better to rip the band-aid off now." "We don't have to end," Junwoo said desperately. "Yes, we do," Dahlia whispered. "Because I won't be the woman who destroys your dreams, and you won't be the man who resents me for it. This way, we get to remember each other as perfect, as what could have been." "I don't want what could have been," Junwoo said. "I want what is, right now, you and me." "I know," Dahlia said, "but we don't always get what we want." She kissed him then, soft and sweet and devastating, tasting like tears and goodbye. And Junwoo kissed her back, trying to memorize everything about this moment, knowing it was ending and being powerless to stop it. 2 weeks later, he drove her to the airport. They didn't talk much during the ride, just held hands and watched Seoul pass by the windows. At the departure gate, Dahlia turned to him with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Thank you," she said, "for the best 3 months of my life." "Don't thank me," Junwoo said hoarsely. "Don't make this sound final." "It has to be final," Dahlia said. "Because if it's not, we'll just keep hurting each other from across the world." "I don't care about the hurt," Junwoo said. "I just care about you." "I know," Dahlia said. "But I care about you too, which is why I'm letting you go." She kissed his cheek, grabbed her suitcase, and walked through security without looking back. Junwoo stood there until her flight disappeared from the departure board, feeling like someone had carved out his chest. "I know your heart just broke, mine did too. If you're crying right now, you're not alone. Drop a heartbreak emoji in the comments and tell me, could you walk away from true love like this? Do you think Dahlia made the right call by leaving? Do you think Junwoo made the right call by allowing her go? Well, while you're pandering on that, hit that like button if this hit you hard, subscribe so you don't miss more that is coming, and smash that notification bell, because what happens next will either destroy you or give you hope. Maybe both. He went back to work, back to board meetings and investor calls and his mother's triumphant smile, back to being the perfect CEO, the dutiful son, the man everyone expected him to be. But he felt empty, hollow, like he was playing a role in someone else's life. 6 months passed. Junwoo threw himself into work, launched 3 new products, expanded into European markets, made Forbes' 30 under 30 list. His mother was thrilled. The board was pleased. His company was thriving. And he was miserable. He thought about Dahlia every day, wondered what she was doing. If she thought about him too. If she'd met someone new who could make her laugh the way he had. He didn't date, didn't even look at other women. His assistant tried to set him up exactly once before Junwoo's death glare made her never bring it up again. He sat alone in his vast, quiet office one night, looking at his mother's portfolio of suitable women, and realized he hadn't lived his own life in a decade. Every decision had been for the company, for the family legacy, for everyone except himself. The portfolio slipped from his hands onto the desk with a hollow thud that echoed in the empty room. The next morning, Junwoo called his CFO into his office before the sun had fully risen. Min-ho entered, coffee in hand, looking concerned at the early summons. "I'm stepping down as CEO," Junwoo said without preamble. Min-ho nearly dropped his coffee. "What?" "Junwoo, if this is about the Q3 numbers..." "It's not about the numbers," Junwoo interrupted, his voice calm but final. "The company is doing better than ever. You know it. I know it. That's exactly why I can do this. I don't understand. I've been CEO for 7 years, Junwoo said, looking out at Seoul's skyline. I've built everything my father wanted and more. But I haven't lived my own life for a single day of it. I'm making you acting CEO. The board will approve it. You've been running half the company anyway. Where are you going? Minho asked quietly. Indianapolis, Junwoo said. I'm going to get her back. Minho smiled despite his shock. The event coordinator. I wondered when you'd come to your senses. Junwoo began clearing his desk. 24 hours of frantic preparation ahead of him. He was booking a flight when his phone rang. His uncle's voice was tight with panic. It's your mother. She's had a stroke. You need to come to the hospital now. The flight to Indianapolis would have to wait. Junwoo sat in the hospital waiting room at 3 in the morning. His resignation letter already submitted. His future already decided. When the doctor finally let him in, his mother looked small in the hospital bed, fragile in a way he'd never seen her before. The strong, unyielding woman who'd built an empire alongside his father now looked frighteningly mortal. Her eyes fluttered open, finding him immediately. Junwoo, she whispered, her voice weak. I'm here, Aoma, he said, taking her hand. I could have died, she said, tears sliding down her cheeks, without ever telling you I was proud of you, without ever saying I'm sorry. Aoma, your father was wrong, she continued, the words clearly difficult but necessary. I was wrong. We built this empire, sat in these offices, attended these meetings, but we forgot to build a life. We forgot what it was for. Her grip on his hand tightened. I'm sure you found her, the American girl who made you happy. Junwoo felt his throat tighten. I was on my way to her before I heard about you, he said. I've already stepped down from the company. I'm choosing happiness, Aoma. His mother's eyes widened, then softened with something that looked like relief. Good. But you don't need to step down. I support you, she whispered. Your father and I sacrificed everything for success, and in the end, we realized we'd sacrificed the wrong things. Don't make our mistake, my son. I won't, Junwoo promised. Then go, his mother said, managing a small smile. Find her, and don't let her go this time. 2 days later, once his mother was stable and recovering, Junwoo was on a plane to Indianapolis with nothing but a carry-on and the address of Dahlia's event planning company that he'd definitely not been cyberstalking for 6 months. Indianapolis in October was beautiful, all autumn leaves and crisp air. Dahlia's office was in a converted warehouse downtown, and Junwoo stood outside for 10 minutes gathering courage before walking in. She was behind the reception desk, arguing with someone on the phone about chair rentals, looking simultaneously stressed and beautiful. Her hair was different, shorter, framing her face in natural curls. She'd lost weight, looked tired, but when she laughed at something the person said, Junwoo felt his heart stop, just like it had 9 months ago. She looked up and saw him. The phone slipped from her hand, clattering onto the desk. You're in Indianapolis, Dahlia breathed, her voice barely audible. I'm in Indianapolis, Junwoo confirmed. Why? The single word carried a universe of hope and fear. Because 6 months ago, you asked me to choose, Junwoo said, walking toward her slowly. And I chose wrong. I chose the company, the expectations, the safe path. And I've been miserable every single day since. Junwoo! Her voice cracked. I stepped down as CEO, Junwoo continued, stopping in front of her desk. Made my CFO acting head. I told the board I needed to pursue other interests. Told my mother I was choosing happiness over legacy. Told everyone who mattered that they could accept it or not, but I wasn't living their life anymore. You did what? Dahlia asked faintly, gripping the edge of her desk. I chose you, Junwoo said simply. 6 months too late, but I'm choosing you now. If you'll still have me. Junwoo, stop! What are you saying? Dahlia's eyes were wide with disbelief. You gave up everything. The company, your position, your entire life. I didn't give it up, Junwoo corrected gently. I stepped back. There's a difference. And you know what I realized? The company doesn't need me to be CEO. It needs me to be happy and fulfilled so I can make good decisions. And I'm only those things with you. Dahlia was crying now, tears streaming down her face. You came all the way to Indianapolis. I'd go anywhere, Junwoo said. I'd move here permanently if that's what you wanted. I'd start over, build something new, learn to live in America, whatever it takes. That's insane, Dahlia whispered. I'm insane about you, Junwoo said. I've been insane since you handed me napkins and roasted my 8 million won suit. I love you, Dahlia Mikkelsen. I love your laugh and your confidence and the way you make me want to be braver. I love that you call me out when I'm being ridiculous and support me when I'm scared. I love you, and I'm not going back to Seoul without you. I can't just leave my business, Dahlia protested weakly. So don't, Junwoo said. Expand it. Open a Seoul branch. I'll help you. Or we'll split our time between here and Korea. Or we'll figure out something completely different. I don't care about the logistics. I just care about you. Dahlia walked around the desk slowly, stopping right in front of him. Up close, Junwoo could see she'd been just as miserable as him, just as lonely, just as lost. I missed you, she whispered. Every single day. Then stop missing me, Junwoo said. Be with me. For real, this time. Forever. Forever is a long time, Dahlia said. Not long enough, Junwoo replied. She kissed him then, and it felt like coming home. Like every sad, lonely night had led to this moment, this choice, this love that was worth every sacrifice. I love you too, Dahlia said against his lips. You ridiculous man. Is that a yes? Junwoo asked. That's a yes to trying, Dahlia said. A yes to figuring it out together. A yes to you and me, and whatever crazy thing this is. I'll take it, Junwoo said, and kissed her again. 1 year later, they stood in a garden in Seoul, surrounded by both their families. Junwoo's mother was crying happy tears, fully recovered and softer than she'd ever been. Dahlia's parents had flown in from Indianapolis and immediately adopted Junwoo as their son. The ceremony was a blend of Korean and American traditions. Just like their love was a blend of two worlds coming together. When Junwoo lifted Dahlia's veil, she smiled that same smile that had stopped his heart at a product launch, and he knew he'd made the right choice. I walked past 50 supermodels, he whispered, and crashed into a table, Dahlia finished with a grin. Best decision I ever made, Junwoo said. Crashing into the table? Seeing you smile? They kissed while their families cheered, and somewhere in the crowd, one of Junwoo's old board members muttered something about him being distracted. But Junwoo didn't care. He'd spent too many years living for other people's approval. Now, he was living for himself, for Dahlia, for the family they'd built together. His company was thriving under new leadership. Dahlia's business had expanded to 3 countries. They split their time between Seoul and Indianapolis, building a life that was messy and complicated and absolutely perfect. And it all started because a CEO walked past 50 supermodels and froze when a woman smiled. Not because she was trying to catch his attention, not because she wanted something from him, but because she was genuinely, authentically happy. Sometimes the best things in life happen when you stop looking for perfection and start seeing people for who they really are. If this story made your heart flutter, smash that like button and subscribe for more emotional romance stories. Drop a comment. Would you give up everything for love? Or is that too risky? Let me know what story you want next. Should we explore unexpected love story like this? Or dive into revenge love stories? Tell us what you fancy. Your choice determines the next video.